be talking about TCP from this module. We have looked at network layer and how network layer routes the packet and what are the issues with that. We have hinted a lot about TCP in past, that is a transport layer, and in fact, especially when we talked about how protocols make sure communication takes place. We talked about segments and movement and senders window, receivers window and all that. We mentioned a lot about TCP in those modules. Here we are going to have a formal introduction to TCP and we are going to discuss about what TCP do, what TCP does and what it does not do. And eventually we will be talking about complete internet network layer. Okay, there are 4 different categories of services. We will be looking at those services. 2 types of transport layers provided by TCP. In fact, there is the third one which is not properly used, not generally used. 2 are TCP and UDP, they are commonly used. The third one is SCTP, which is not provided on most of the operating systems even today. Okay, we will be also looking at TCP used for data traffic and UDP is used for real time traffic. We will look at that later. SCTP is not used. Flow control is also very critical. We have seen that window advertisement. We will see how that is done here. We will also see some services which are not provided by TCP, and that is very important for us to know that internet, when it started, it was not expecting to grow to this level. It is testimony to a very good design that TCP IP, which was backbone in the beginning of the internet, where we have only handful of computers connected to internet, is still working as backbone. But then there are some things which were not, they could not visualize the designer, have become very critical today, but TCP does not provide. So, we will talk about them as well. Then we will look at round trip time and deviation. Basically, we are interested in finding out what is the right time to time out for a given packet and how that is done. How TCP does, we will brief about that. And we also look at something called Kahn's algorithm for retransmission. Okay. There are 3 type of services and 3 type of transport layers. Reliable stream oriented is provided by TCP, only send and receive is UDP, and is message oriented reliable is SCTP. In this module we will not be talking about SCTP as it is not much used, but if you want to again study about SCTP, my second book on this data communication and networking, I have a special session on SCTP. You can have a look at that, and there are many other resources over web which you can refer to if you are interested. The reliable stream oriented means the sender sends a stream and receiver receives the very stream and is reliable. Whatever sender sends, receiver receives it. Okay. If anything is lost, TCP makes sure it is retransmitted. TCP also makes sure that there is a checksum. So, if it is corrupted, it is learned and retransmitted and so on and so forth. So, it is reliable service and stream oriented service. Unlike that, UDP is only send and receive. We just send and forget, the receiver receives that. And we have seen that real time services need something like that. Does not, real time service does not demand retransmission actually. Retransmission confuses the receiver. So, for example, I am speaking something right now and a word is lost during transmit and will reach that word later when I am talking about something else, will definitely confuse you. That word does not match the context, and even if it matches the context, it will convey entirely different meaning than when it is actually spoken. So, that is the problem. Okay. There are 4 different types of services that I have categorized and I am presenting it that way. This is not a standard categorization, but accepted almost unanimously by all of us. Delivery related is one. There are some measures about delivery. Okay, the transport layer should provide delivery related services, also provide connection management, sender and receiver, that connection is to be managed. Performance related should not starve any connection of a bandwidth, and a user should not feel dissatisfied with the service. So, the performance is again very important, and some other miscellaneous services including how timers are managed. So, we will be talking about each one of them. First one is delivery related. The first in delivery related is this reliable delivery. the data should reach at the other end as it is. So, data integrity is critical problem, and that is managed by reliable delivery, and we have seen that there is a mechanism called checksum which is deployed to make sure data is properly received. And not only that, TCP also provides retransmission mechanism, okay. Retransmit lost or corrupted segments. So, if reliable delivery finds that there is a problem with some segment, the receiver will respond back to the sender. In fact, it will not send the acknowledgement of that segment, the sender times out and resend that segment. Positive acknowledgement with retransmission, we looked at that. So, that is retransmission service. Not only that, you will have to continuously check the status of the network to decide when to retransmit. Now, this is a very critical thing. In real sense, the networks do change every minute, new networks added, new machines added, old machines, old networks go out and so on and so forth, that is one thing. Second, user traffic pattern changes every minute. At this point of time, there is heavy traffic, after a minute there is no traffic. So, traffic continues to change, senders change their traffic patterns, and the actual transmission should look at that network status and adapt to that situation. So, that adaptability is very, very important. Dynamism is very, very important, which TCP provides, and we will see how that is done. Order delivery is one more. If I am sending segment number 4, 5 and 6 in that order, receiver must get all segments 4, 5 and 6 in that order only, should not get 4, 6 and 5. Okay. This is again very, very critical, which TCP provides. It numbers every segment, we have already seen that. It numbers every segment, and if out of order segment is received by the receiver, we will make sure that only when the right segment arrives, it will provide the upper layer segments in the right order. Real time delivery, okay. There are some requirements of real time services, okay. So, how that real time delivery is provided? TCP provides some basic form of that thing, not a serious that thing. A quality of service, some quality of service, some measure to provide quality of service, okay. So, that is done, okay. Last two on a moderate scale and not an elaborated one. The second one is connection oriented or connection related services. Remember, TCP is a connection oriented protocol, so it provides quite a few. Optimum utilization of the bandwidth, it looks at the bandwidth and will try to make sure it adjusts senders and receivers window size based on this thing, senders window size. The sender decides that if I can send lot of segments, will increase the sender's window to make sure it utilizes the network bandwidth to the fullest. Flexibility of the connection, that the transport layer of internet provides two choices to us. You can use TCP if you want, you get reliable stream oriented. If you do not want retransmission and all that stuff, you still have a variant available UDP, which is a no frills service, only basic send and receive service. Okay. So, you do not want all that luxury, you say that this is fine with me, I do not want any overhead. Okay. So, you can take that no frills service. So, that is available. So, as a programmer you have a choice, if you want to use TCP you may, or UDP then you may. Multiplexing and demultiplexing we have already talked about, so I will not talk about that further. Process level addressing also is discussed, we looked at something called port number. Okay. So, we can address every sender as a process, and we can make sure that sender receives the response based on the port number. Okay. So, that we make sure that when we use that transport layer of internet. Providing end to end solutions, sender and receiver based solution. So, sender gets the confirmation from the receiver and then it will send the next segment or something. Okay. So, it is basically provides end to end, unlike the other layers where it is hop by hop, a node talking to a next node, a router talking to next router and so on and so forth. Here it is end to end, this is the first end to end layer where the actual sender is talking to the actual receiver, and obviously flow control. Okay. And we have talked about flow control and window advertisement, and here is an example. For example, sender is sending where receiver has 6K free and sender sends 2K. So, this out of 6K, 2K is occupied and now receiver has 4K. So, receiver responds back and obviously it sends with the acknowledgement a window size being 4K. So, that means sender can send maximum 4K, sender now cannot send more than 4K. Okay. So, suppose sender has 3K, so it sends 3K. So, now 5K is occupied, sender, and it says window is 1K. So, sender can now only send 1K and not more, even if he has more amount of data to send. So, sender suppose sends 1K. Now, this thing is completely occupied. Now, as receiver signs, the application is not scheduled, will not read anything. Okay. So, 6K is all fully occupied. Now, the receiver cannot accept any packet, it will send back window advertisement called 0. When it is 0, we will have to wait. Okay. After a while, an application read 3K from it. So, there is a 3K space free. So, here you receive one more window advertisement called window equal to 3K, indicating that sender can now send maximum 3K. Okay. So, further receiver can send. Now, this is an example of how receiver decides the speed of the sender. Okay. Flow control. Some performance related services, one is called buffer management. You have many connections to manage. So, every connection requires some memory. So, that buffer is to be managed. Crash recovery, what will happen if the TCP itself crashes, or the process crashes. Okay. TCP will have to manage. Now, this something which is not very easy to manage, buffer management, crash recovery, and even the third one, window management, we have already looked at. This detailing of that is not part of this module, because it is more of an operating system related issue than the transport system, transport layer related issue. Okay. And 3 of the miscellaneous services, one is managing multiple connections. Okay. TCP manages not one, but more than one connections. At times it can, for example, a GSEB server, Gujarat State Education Board, whenever there is a result announcement, before that maybe you have 10, 20, 30 connections a day. On that very day you have lakhs of connections getting into that server. So, that kind of scaling is required, and TCP manages it if it is there, the amount of memory and all that is that TCP can manage that. It also manages timers, and we will be looking at that too. It also manages congestion, surprisingly, but we will look at that as well. Okay. There are some services which are not provided by TCP. For example, there is no session control. TCP does not really know that how many sessions are flowing through and which sessions and how many packets and all that, will not provide you that service, because it is not there at all. It was not there from the beginning, it is not there, but it is not all that important. End to end security is the other one. What I want in most cases, sender would like to encrypt everything. So, whenever somebody tries to read in the middle, will not getting anything out of it. Not only that, whenever receiver receives a connection request, should authenticate the sender. Now, these are 2 critical requirements, encryption and authentication, which is 2 most basic security needs, but TCP was not designed for it. But then there is a method called TLS, or transport layer security. An older version is known as secure socket layer. That is additional protocol runs on top of TCP to provide that, but TCP itself does not provide. End to end quality of service, we talked about quality of service a lot, like MPLS, TCP does not provide. Okay. We have SDN like solutions where this is possible now. Isochronous delivery is about suppose if I will make you a landline or mobile phone, and when I am talking I have a pause in the middle and so on. So, every pause that I make is transferred as is at the other end, so much so that user will also find those pauses while they listen, and this is very common and so natural that we have never realized that how important is this. When we make VoIP calls, the pause does not remain identical, because packets do not travel with the same speed. Some packet travels fast, some packet travels slow, depending on the amount of congestion and routers availability, line availability and all that. It is quite possible that 2 packets which are sent after a long interval merges at the end of the communication, and 2 immediately sent back and back packets are drifted apart when they are received by the receiver. So, that delay is not constant. So, that is known as isochronous. TCP cannot provide isochronous delivery. So, that is the other problem. additional security measures, there are many other additional security measures people would expect a transport layer to provide, or applications demand. Okay. For example, key management, they would like to share a key. So, transport layer should help them sharing a key. TCP is not designed with such a thing, but anyway TLS and SSL can be used for that. Okay. Now, we will concentrate on how round trip time is calculated and how that is used in calculating the timeout value. Okay. Round trip time is very easy to calculate, you just send a packet and find out the time you need to get the acknowledgement, and that is round trip time. But will you use that value as round trip time estimation? You should not actually, you should send it multiple times and get an average, that is what it does. So, and it cannot have a real round trip time decide a priori, because it is quite possible and that in one case sender and receiver belongs to one LAN, in the other case they are contained and separate. So, you can't have a priori or default value assigned to timeout. You will have to find out in real time and take an average of it. That is so how that is done. So, for example, if I want to find out estimated round trip time, okay. So, I will find out the current round final last one round trip time value, I multiply that with alpha, and I have a previous estimate with me and multiply that thing with 1 minus alpha. Now, alpha value is 0.125. Now, it is basically 1 upon 8, which is 1 upon 2 raised to 3. A multiple of 2 is chosen for multiplying or dividing just because a single right shift or left shift operation can serve the purpose. You do not need to have a very complex algorithm for that. So, basically estimated round trip time is current round trip time value, you just multiply with 0.125 and previous round trip time with this value. Now, once you calculate that, you just again once you estimate is what? An estimate. For example, I have estimated it to be 5 millisecond. So, I do not get the response back in 5 millisecond. I expected the round trip time to be 5 millisecond. I expect the packet acknowledgement coming back to me in 5 millisecond. If it does not come back, should I send a new retransmitted packet after that 5 millisecond? I should not. I should also look for a variance, because estimate is what? Is estimate, might be here and there some, it may be more, maybe less. I will have to actually find out some what is expected variance in that as well. So, the next thing that I will calculate is estimated deviation, and I use the same formula B into current deviation 1 minus beta into estimated deviation, where beta value is 1 upon 2 raised to 2, that is 0.25. Okay. How you calculate previous deviation or the current deviation? Previous estimate of RTD in a current actual timeout. Now, that is my current. So, this is not previous, this is current deviation. Okay. So, I have to actually find out this thing. Now, this is the replacement. Okay. If you look at the previous case, the current deviation is previous estimate, my estimate, earlier estimate, and current value. So, whatever is the difference. For example, I estimated 0.7 and acknowledgement come back after 0.5, the deviation is 0.2. So, I will use that in calculation as well, and once I get this calculation, what I do is I calculate the timeout value, estimated round trip time plus 4 into expected deviation. So, if I expect some deviation, I will not only at that deviation, I multiply 4, okay, this deviation by 4 and use this 4 is many a times referred to as eta. Okay. So, what does that mean? That means that whenever the acknowledgement come back, what the TCP will be doing? TCP calculates round trip time, that is first. Deviation is also calculated, because it already have estimated it. So, it comes back, you find out it is to be 5 and I have estimated it to be 7. So, variance is 2. So, we will calculate the variance as well. Weighted average is recalculated. Now, new estimated RTD is based on this thing. So, we will calculate new estimated round trip time. will also calculate new estimated variance, okay, and based on it will calculate the timeout value and then send a packet, and it is repeated for every packet that you send. So far so good, okay. And its summary is here. Estimated round trip time is calculated this way, estimated deviation is calculated this way, and timeout value is calculated this way. Okay, there is one more thing. Why I have used 4 here? In fact, I read in some research paper that 3 is a better number than 4, but then 4 is used. Why? Because multiplying with any multiple of 2 is very straightforward. Multiplying with 4 is left shift by 2, that is all. If you left shift 1, it is multiplication of 2. So, if you left shift the number twice, whatever this estimated deviation, you just left shift it twice, you get 4 into it. So, that is the power of multiple of 2. That is the reason why everywhere multiple of 2 is used. And why it is done? Because every packet, whenever TCP is sending a packet, will have to do it, and consider a huge bandwidth on which current networks work. This is to be done many times in a second, okay, thousands and thousands of time. If this is not done fast, this is going to be critical, okay. But there is again one problem. I have sent a packet, the packet, and I have to retransmit. So, I have sent the packet again, I get the acknowledgement back. Now, I do not really know whether this acknowledgement belongs to my first transmission or the second. In fact, if I attach them with either of, I may run into trouble. Okay. For example, attaching it to the first one, actually it is with the second, I am calculating it longer than it actually is, and if every other packet is lost, my timeout value can grow exponentially and my connection slows down like anything. It is the other way around, okay. Okay. Attaching it with the second one, you calculate the timeout value fast, okay. When that happens, the first transmission, I am talking about second transmission, let me, okay, I have sent the packet at say 5, okay, fifth second, let us call it 5th second. I send it on 7th second again, I got the response by 8th second. Okay. If I is actually this and I have chosen this, what will happen? I assume it to be 1, but it is actually 5 plus 8, 3. So, unnecessary. After that, I will retransmit a packet after 1 second, I will retransmit, which actually 3, and I am sending. So, I am doing unnecessary retransmissions. When I am doing unnecessary retransmission, I am wasting network's bandwidth, and research again has shown that it settles into a case where every segment is actually retransmitted at least once. If I do the other way around, if it is actually 3 and it is actually 1 and I assumed it to be 3, I slow down unnecessarily, and when there are packets getting lost and I assume this, my time getting longer and longer, eventually becomes so slow that it is almost useless. Okay. So, both ways are not acceptable, that is the point here. Okay. So, that in this case also the acknowledgement is said to be ambiguous, because I can't relate it to first or second retransmission. Okay. The other case is cumulative acknowledgement also misses on, okay, because I get a cumulative acknowledgement. So, whether when my earlier segment is received, I do not really know. I have sent segment number 1, 2 and 3, I got the acknowledgement of T, I do not get acknowledgements of 1 and 2, what should I do with that? Okay. So, that is the issue. Okay. So, in case of ambiguous acknowledgement, first you will not calculate RTT, because either of that can be wrong. So, you do not do it. So, you do not change your round trip time. So, there is no point in increasing that value unnecessarily or incorrectly. So, the first problem is avoided. Second, it is quite possible that you calculated the timeout probably has increased. So, what you do? You just double the timeout value. So, you avoid that problem as well. So, there is no unnecessary retransmission. So, all packets there which are there in the senders window, all of them's retransmission time is just doubled, simple, okay, and there is no round trip time calculation. So, that is done by Khan. You may believe that is a very, very simple algorithm, but believe me, in networking and all other cases, simple algorithms are the best algorithms, because you do not need to spend a lot of computational resources to calculate the solution, and they will have to be happening in real time. So, these solutions, simplest of solutions, are best solution. Okay. For example, if the time of value is 0.5, okay, and there is a retransmission. So, what happens, time of value of all other remaining packets will increase from 0.5 to 1, okay, and round trip time is not calculated. With that note, we will conclude. Friends, we have seen some transport layer services in this particular module. We looked at 4 categories of them. We looked at how timeout value is calculated, and for calculating timeout value we have also seen how round trip time calculation takes place, and how round trip time calculation is augmented by calculating variance, and also using both of them how timeout value is calculated. Not only that, we have also used one clever technique of using coefficients which are multiple of 2. So, when we use coefficients of multiple of 2, the computational overhead is reduced to right shifting and left shifting, which can happen pretty fast. With that note, we will conclude this module. We will look at the transport layer further in subsequent modules. With that, thank you all.